For you in your business, when it comes to your ad copy, when it comes to any kind of content you create, are you of the mindset where you are using swipe files? Have you ever used swipe files? Maybe it's a swipe file for your email content, maybe it's a swipe file for your blogs, maybe it's even a swipe file for your entire funnel. What a swipe file is and what it means to your business, and more importantly, the dangers associated with it, is exactly what we're going to be talking about on today's episode of the Daily Dose of Awesome. My name is JT DeBolt, and welcome to the Elite Marketing Pro Daily Dose of Awesome, your 15 minutes of education, inspiration, and motivation to help you get your day started off right. Before we jump in, let me just greet you, welcome you, and as you jump out here, let me know where you are tuning in from, and as you do, let me say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is for you, no matter where you might be tuning in from here on the Big Blue Marble. Thanks for joining us here each and every single Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for your 15 minutes of inspiration, education, and motivation to help you get your day started off right. Bart Ripple in the house in Cleveland, Ohio, hanging out there. What's up, my friend? Tracy Chalmers. Now, Tracy, I just happen to know that you are a Canadian, but you are down in Coronado, California. One of my favorite places in San Diego. I used to fly airplanes right out of the air base right there, Naval Air Station, Coronado. So I love that part of the world. What's up, Delaney in Atlanta? Good to see you. Jennifer King, what's up, girlfriend? All right, lots of cool people jumping out here. Listen, I'm really excited to talk to you about this today because this is something that I actually started off doing very early in my career and something that I still see a lot of people struggling with. In fact, this is something that can actually harm your business more than help you. We're going to be talking about the power of a swipe file, what a swipe file is, the benefits of it, but more importantly, how powerfully dangerous it can be in your business as an entrepreneur and as a leader. We'll be talking about that. What's up, Michelle Lee, coming in from Arizona. I'm going to be in Arizona in about 2 days down in Tempe at the workshop. Looking forward to getting out of the cold. We just got snow here in Seattle. In fact, our kids are on a second consecutive snow day. That's how crazy it is out here in the Pacific Northwest, Michelle. So I'm looking forward to a little bit of sun and a little reprieve from the snow. So what is a swipe file? If you guys know what a swipe file is, type it into the chat box. I want to see what your understanding of that term is. What is a swipe file? When you hear the term swipe file, what is it? I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story as you're doing this. When I first got started in business, I was not business-minded. All right, I was definitely an employee-minded person. I was a full-time active duty U.S. Navy pilot. I loved what I did. That was a career that I had pursued since I was a kid. And so to be able to do that for a living was really living out a childhood dream. It was something that I had wanted ever since I was about 5 years old. So to think about starting a business was the furthest thing from my mind. My idea was to be a warfighter, was to be an aviator, to be a servant to the United States for as long as they would keep me. And then I was going to get out of that career, retire, and move on to the airlines and do that for as long as I could do it. And that way I would have a double pension. I mean, what else could you ask for, right? What more could you possibly want? 2 retirements. I mean, how much more responsible could I be as a human being? Well, guess what? My wife, who at the time was just my girlfriend, she said, hey, she started to read this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Eventually, we got engaged to be married, and she said, you either read this book or I'm not walking down the aisle with you. So I was like, give me that book. So I read the book. It was not something I would have naturally selected for myself. I was not a natural-born entrepreneur. I wasn't like these people that had a lemonade stand or selling comic books. I didn't have a newspaper route. I did mow lawns. And I did that, you know, I was very industrious. I went out, I got my own lawnmower, or at least I borrowed my dad's lawnmower. I dragged it behind my bike. I mowed lawns throughout the neighborhood to collect a few extra bucks in the summertime. But beyond that, I really had no entrepreneurial background. So for me to actually learn business was an uphill climb. My wife got started in the network marketing industry after I got deployed to Iraq. And she found a couple of network marketing companies. And I came kicking and screaming, but now here we are, fast forward to today. But how did that happen? Well, initially, I understood that you had to have content in order to market, and you had to be able to market in order to get clients, and you had to have clients in order to make money, and you had to make money in order to stay in business. It all made sense, and I could see the importance of having good content that was going out on a regular basis, and whether that content took the form of an email or a blog post, it didn't really matter. The thing in my mind was, how the heck do you create this? How does this actually happen? Because in my head, I thought, well, I'm not very creative, right? I don't have a story to tell. I don't have an entrepreneurial bone in my body. So I got to have help. I need somebody to show me the way. And that's when I started to understand this thing called a swipe file. So out of curiosity, what are you guys typing in here? Let me see what's going on here. Hey, what's up, Terry in Hawaii? What's going on? I could use a little Hawaii right now. Carlos in Nashville, Tennessee. My uncle lives in Nashville. Let's see. Someone else's copy, Bart says. Delaney Fluker says, never heard of it. Cool. Good, Delaney. I appreciate you saying that because I'm going to help out with that. Susie is in Jamaica. What's going on? I'm going to be in Jamaica in May. Looking forward to that. Let's see. It's basically, Jennifer says, it's basically a collection of tested and proven advertising and sales letters. Very well said, my friend. That's spot on. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and run with that because I think that's a really great way. Jennifer King stepping up with her leadership as always. She's one of our leaders, man, one of our hardcore leaders here. It's basically a collection of tested and proven advertising and sales letters. Okay, great. Let's use that because I agree with that. Essentially what a swipe file is a collection of any kind of advertising that you can think of, whether it's an email, whether it's a blog post, whether it's a sales letter, and you take a look at it and you see that it's done very well. Typically speaking, a swipe file is where we swipe somebody else's stuff. Sometimes a guru, sometimes it could be somebody who's in our own, kind of network, could be in our upline or downline or crossline, somebody who's doing well. Maybe you reach out to them and say, hey, I saw that you were doing really well. Do you mind if I kind of, use some of your ideas here? Sometimes they, we'll flat out ask for it. Sometimes the guru or the expert will say, hey, listen, if you join my program, I'll actually give you a swipe file of my best stuff. And it can be used as a value add to attract people to purchase their program or get involved with their system. Here's the problem, is what you are essentially doing is you're taking somebody's intellectual property. Now, if you had to guess, what do you suppose is the single biggest problem with that? What's the single biggest failure, or maybe more importantly, the single biggest weakness that can occur when we use swipe files? If you had to guess, what might that be? Type it into the chat box. And by the way, if this is making sense, if we're talking about a swipe file, if you're understanding this, give me a 1 in the chat box and give me a 0, give me a big fat 0 if this is not making sense. All right, I want to make sure because this is super important, my friends. I want you to understand what an actual swipe file is, what it is. If you understand what it is, give me a 1. If you do not understand after this point, give me a 0 because I want to clear some things up. I see this as a huge issue. When I first got started in business, I thought I had this block mindset, if you will. I believed in myself, combat decorated Navy pilot, man, I could take on the world. But the one thing I forever operated under was this misunderstanding of my own value and my own skill set, and more importantly, my own story. I thought to myself, well, what do I have to offer, right? I don't have the $1 million business. I'm not a 6-figure earner. I don't even have my first customer. How the heck could I possibly be taken seriously in this industry, in this business, if I have no results to show for it? Who's going to listen to me? So I was operating from that understanding, or that belief system rather, that I had to have a quote unquote swipe file. I had to have somebody else's intellectual property in order to attract the attention of the people that I wanted to actually have in my business. All right, I see lots of 1s and 2s, 1/2, okay, 0, a couple zeros. Here's what I would say for anybody who's got a kind of a shoddy understanding of this. You're saying to yourself, I'm not quite clear on what a swipe file is. Go ahead and do a little bit of research on it. Do a Google search for it, find that answer, and develop that understanding. Because here's the thing, it can be a very alluring thing for some folks. Some people think they have to have a swipe file. In other words, they have to go cut and paste somebody else's emails. They have to cut and paste somebody else's blog posts. They have to cut and paste somebody else's sales page and basically use it for their own. Now, does this sound like plagiarism? Does this sound like you're stealing somebody else's information? Maybe. And in some cases, it can actually be plagiarism. It can be flat out plagiarism. You can have somebody who goes, hey, do you mind if I take a look at your funnel? Do you mind if I take a look at your sales page so I can get some ideas? You might say, yes, go for it. And that person turns around and literally copies you word for word. Now, does that feel good? No, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to you. It probably doesn't feel good to them because deep down in the back of their mind, even if they have kind of shoddy character, kind of weak character, they're still going to know they're doing something that's not on the up and up, right? But here's the real damage. Here's the real danger if we do this. The person who suffers the most is not you, and it's not me, the person that perhaps, or if let's say I plagiarize off you or I use you as a swipe file. you are not necessarily the one that's going to get the most pain. I'm not necessarily the one that's going to feel the most pain. Who do you suppose it is? If you had to guess, go ahead and type it into the chat box. Bart says, hey, the swipe file materials don't necessarily reflect your personality or your brand. Spot on, my friend. And that is exactly the challenge here. Tom Dealey says it best. We are not a copy and paste business. I'm going to stand on that right now because I love the fact that Tom's saying this. The number one reason I'm jumping out here on this Wednesday morning to talk to you about the reason you shouldn't use swipe files and the reason you shouldn't try to borrow stuff from people. In fact, the reason you should never try to plagiarize, not that anybody would do that, is that it's not yours. EMP, Elite Marketing Pro, is not a cut and paste business. In fact, I would submit that cut and paste is not business at all. You see, entrepreneurship is about being creative. It's about being resourceful. It's about being able to get ourselves out of a stuck state so we can help other people get unstuck. Think about what that means. If we're here because we have an amazing product, maybe you've got a health and fitness product, maybe you've got a beauty product, maybe you've got something that completely transforms lives, maybe you've got something that literally will fight cancer. Maybe you've got something that helps people with their economy. Maybe you've got a way for them to make a lot of money. If you come from a place of being stuck, how on earth can you possibly lead other people out of being in their stuck place? You might say to yourself, dude, I'm making six figures. I'm not stuck. But the simple reality is we have to be a holistic leader. That means we got to have our stuff dialed in on all fronts. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Far from it. In fact, it doesn't even mean you have to have everything together. What it means is that on a daily basis, you got to be working to improve. You got to be working on skill sets. The challenge with a swipe file, meaning if I just go copy and paste, if I just cut and paste from somebody else's information or somebody else's content without learning the skill set that got them to that place, I am actually hampering my own ability, my own progress, my own growth. And how on earth would anybody want to ever follow something like that? This is what I want to tell you. A swipe file or the idea of copying somebody else's stuff is only hurting you. But at the end of the game, it's going to really hurt the people. In this case, Jan nailed my question, the prospect. The one who suffers the most is your prospect, your customer, your audience. Because just like Tom talked about, just like Bart talked about, we are not a cut and paste business. And just like Bart was saying, how can you possibly convey your personality? How can you possibly be authentic if you're speaking somebody else's words? Now, here's the caveat. A lot of people ask me this. They say, hey, listen, you guys at EMP come right out and say, hey, you can actually use one of Fernie's blog posts. You just tweak it a little bit. We specifically say this because in the beginning, when you're learning the skill set, this is a great way to actually walk in the footsteps of those who have gone before. All right. So think of it this way. If you know somebody who's got that path to the top of the mountain and they've been marching in that hip deep snow, you probably want to follow the steps they take so you don't fall down the crevasse, so that you don't fall over the edge, and so you actually reach the summit. But that's not the way you want to continue for the rest of your business. Eventually, you want to learn the skill sets required so that you can make your own tracks in the snow and get to the top of your own summit. And more importantly, lead others to do the same. So here's my humble challenge to you. It's really a simple process. Number one, pick one skill set that you want to get really great at. Whether that's copywriting in general, or whether it's writing blog posts, whether it's being email, if you're going to do email marketing, which I highly recommend, whether you're going to write ads that we teach here, and whether it be in the workshops in the Fast Track program or anywhere throughout the Elite Marketing Pro program, you want to look at what other people are doing for sure, because you want to model that behavior. But there's a big, big difference between modeling somebody and taking their stuff. There's a huge difference. Would you agree? If you agree that there's a huge difference between modeling somebody and actually just blatantly doing exactly what they're doing, give me a 2 in the chat box. I want to see if you guys are tracking me here, because here's the thing. What's most important for folks when they're following you, when they opt into your website, when they listen to when they're actually in your funnel and they're getting your emails, or when they're watching you on Facebook Live or they're listening to your content, the single most important thing is they want to know it's coming from you. The second thing they want to know is there any value to it? It is literally impossible to add value to somebody if you don't have a skill set, if you don't have some sort of experience with it. Now, that does not mean that in the beginning, as you're developing the skill set, that you can't add value to their life, okay? Because you got to remember, you're still 2 steps ahead of them, most likely. Most likely, the people that are looking at you are probably starting off on the journey for themselves as well. or they've been beaten up, they've been dragged through the mud, they've had a negative experience before, or maybe they've had some success, but they collapsed a little bit. On some level, I think we can all agree that people are in pain, otherwise they wouldn't be looking for your solution. If they are coming to you, you want to represent yourself as a solution provider, as a person that can help them find the answers either for themselves or with you. Does that make sense? So the whole point to this is a swipe file is only you swiping somebody else's content, posting it as your own. When we talk about using an EMP blog post, what we're talking about is in the beginning, you want to use the bulk of it, the sales part, the part that takes a lot of time and a lot of experience to get really good at. You put your message to the front of it, end of it, and the back end of it. And there's a lot of training about this in the Elite Marketing Pro back office. So I'm not going to go deep into it because it's beyond the scope of today's DDOA. I just want to simply say, yes, there is a part of this that we at EMP do advocate for. We say, hey, listen, use one of Fernie's blog posts, but turn it into your own. And we talk to you about the specific steps to be able to do that. But overall, you want to be working on your own skill sets. You want to develop the persuasion. You want to develop the influence. You want to develop the leadership. You want to develop those skill sets. And the only way to do it is by promoting and creating your own stuff. Okay? Swipe files are useless. I don't care what the gurus tell you. I don't care who the best person in the world who might be out there promoting it and even saying, here's my swipe file. All that is meant to be bait to pull you into their trap. They are trying to keep you stuck, or maybe they're not necessarily trying to keep you stuck. Maybe they mean well. But at the end of the day, that's actually what's happening. They're hurting you more than they're helping you by giving you a swipe file. Now, am I saying swipe files are evil? Am I saying swipe files are cancer? Am I saying swipe files are the worst thing ever? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm actually saying is you have the intellect, you have the hard work, you have the ability to learn. Damn it, go out there and be a leader. Learn the skill sets, be the best you can be. And that means you're going to have to go out there and make mistakes. You're going to have to go out there and look foolish at times. Sometimes the things you write are going to be completely useless. You're going to write something, well, they're not going to be useless, but they're not going to have the result you want. You're going to write an email that has a terrible open rate. You're going to have an email that creates a huge swarm of people unsubscribing. And guess what? That's a victory. Those people were never going to buy from you in the first place. If they unsubscribe because of one email, maybe you offended them, or maybe they didn't, that you lost them. Big deal. What that means is now you got to keep that ad running and keep your list building. All right. That's the way business goes. Not everybody agrees with me. Not everybody's going to agree with you. And perhaps right now you might be challenged. You might be saying, hey, screw you, dude. I'm going with my swipe file. And if you do, that's totally cool with me. I'm not asking you to agree with me, and nor will you have everybody agree with you. But when it comes to having swipe files, when it comes to literally duplicating exactly verbatim what somebody else does, remember this: the only person you are screwing over is yourself, but the person you're hurting the worst is your prospect. At the end of the day, you got to be a leader. Leaders don't do swipe files. Leaders don't plagiarize. Leaders don't borrow stuff. What they do is learn. Now, I've got a great friend of mine that is, if I said his name, you guys would probably know him right away. He's a huge leader and guru in the industry, somebody who is loved and adored by a lot of folks. I just had the privilege of spending a few days with him over the last week, and we shared a lot of ideas. We were talking back and forth about his business model. And I actually have a plan to talk with him next week to go a little bit deeper into what he's doing. Here's the thing. I want to learn. I want to stand on the shoulders of giants. I want to grow through that. But what I will damn sure not do is do exactly what he's doing verbatim. So you can learn from other people, but you don't have to necessarily do everything they do, speak exactly what they say, or have a step-by-step, point-by-point plan just like theirs is. The idea is to develop a general understanding of what they do and put your own message into it, put your own energy, put your own spirit into what you're talking about. That's what makes people buy. If I go and I swipe his exact funnel, if I duplicate his funnel verbatim, but I put my little message in there and I make it a little bit JT to Boldish as opposed to him, at the end of the day, my audience is going to be lost because my ad is going to be different than his, but my funnel might be the same. And all of a sudden there's going to be a disconnect. You're going to have a lot of people that don't want to buy from you. And then you're frustrated. You're saying, well, nothing works. I'm not getting results. Well, no kidding. You're not going to get results. Everything has to be authentic. Everything has to match. It has to be smooth. And that takes time. That takes trial and error. That takes you putting your message out there. That takes you developing your skill set and being willing to be patient, all right? That it's going to be sometimes a year, 18 months, maybe 24 months. before you really have it refined. It takes time. Now, am I saying it has to take that much time? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It could take a lot shorter for you. Here's the deal. If you're frustrated, if you're saying this isn't happening fast enough, step back and ask yourself, how much are you investing in your own growth? And I'm not talking financially necessarily. I mean, maybe. What I'm talking about is how much are you actually investing in learning the skill sets so that you can actually attract the right kind of people? How much of your time, energy, and focus is put into the message and making sure that it matches with not just your audience's wants and needs, but who you are as a person and what you provide? Because ultimately, my friends, that's what people buy. They buy you. They don't buy your product. They damn sure don't buy your compensation plan. I don't care how great your company's compensation plan is. I don't care. And neither do your prospects. I don't care how awesome your product is. I think it's cool. And so do your prospects, right? What they care about is you. They care about themselves and you. Are you a match between, they're saying, are you a match for me or am I a match for you? That's ultimately what they're asking. And the only way you can answer that and have it be a match is by being yourself. You can't swipe file your way to success. Sorry, this is not how it works. You're going to have to learn the strong skill sets, and it's going to take some freaking time. So be patient with yourself. All right? Give yourself a long enough runway to actually develop the skill sets, the leadership. Give yourself the time, be patient enough with yourself to be seen as and earn the trust and the right to be seen as a leader in the eyes and the hearts and the minds of your prospects. And when you do that, and you do it from a place of authenticity, you're going to be the kind of person that people turn to. They're going to be the people asking for you for advice, just like I'm asking my buddy next week. So here's my simple offer to you. Stop using swipe files. Stop asking to see other people's funnels. Stop opting into people's stuff so you can see what they're doing, reading their emails and trying to duplicate what they're doing. Stop doing that stuff. You have enough training on the actual fundamentals, the skills, the process necessary here at Elite Marketing Pro. Tap into the training you already have. And more importantly, start doing it your way. Go out there, scratch the paint, ding the sheet metal, be willing to make some mistakes. Be willing to look foolish. Be willing to expose yourself and be vulnerable to your prospects. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the compensation. It's not about the products. It's not about the benefits. That's not what they're buying. They're actually buying you. And when you're authentic with them, when you're unscripted, when you come out and just kind of do your thing, that's what people love. Take it from me and trust me, I understand this. And I've seen it work for so many people just like yourself. You got this, my friends, but it takes going out there and being patient with yourself. It takes doing the hard work. It takes doing that attention to detail stuff. And it takes tweaking, refining, and putting the thing into process and learning from the feedback you get. That's it. So get off the swipe file mentality. Break yourself of that habit, but more importantly, start to develop and increase that muscle, that skill set muscle that you know you need, and the stuff that you got right here at EMP. And more importantly, the stuff that you already have inside of you. You're pretty awesome. You're extremely amazing. Now get out there and share it with the world. All right, my friends, if this message worked for you today, I just realized I went really long today. Apologize for that. Actually, no, I don't apologize. I was on a freaking roll. Give me a 5 in the chat box. If this is making sense for you. I'll tell you what, more importantly, not just if it makes sense for you, give me a 5 in the chat box, like a high 5, if you are committed to getting off of the swipe file train, or if you're not on the swipe file train, leading by example and helping others to do it. All right. You don't need somebody else. You can watch them and observe them and learn from them. Okay. That's what mentorship's all about. Find a great mentor, ask them how they do what they do and learn from them. Learn the actual skill sets. Don't swipe file your way. You're not going to swipe file your way to success. It's never worked. It's not going to work. Okay. You might have a hit. You might have a one-hit wonder, but if you want to be a truly sustainable success, it comes down to learning skill sets and being truly authentic with your folks. Lots of 5s. I love this. All right. You guys are amazing. So cool to see this. And I appreciate that. And by the way, I really see you guys when I see 5s like this to a comment or a question that I ask like this, I see that as an indication of leadership. All right. I know a lot of the names I see here, and some names I don't know. Some folks I'm just seeing for the first time. But I see some folks like Rebecca Sadek out there, right? That's somebody who I would follow all day. She has done the work. She came in here. She grinded. She a couple times fell on the pavement, scratched up her knees and her hands, and was like, all right, damn it. She got back up, dusted herself off, and now she's really clicking with her business. Here's the thing. You could be just like Rebecca. You could be just like Julie Vance out there. It's another one I'm talking about. Chuck, Tom, Michelle. let's not forget about Michelle Felicia, right? You could be like these folks by simply showing up, being authentic, doing the work. You can't swipe file your way to success, but you can build the strong muscles. And believe it or not, it doesn't take as long as you think it might have to take. It might take longer, but the simple reality is you start building that momentum. You start attracting the kind of audience that actually wants to do business with you, but more importantly, you want to do business with. And then that's the game changer, all right? So lots of fives. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Love you guys. And by the way, I'll be coming back out here very soon with another comment. I want to try to follow up with you guys. I made a message in the Fast Track community last week. So for those of you who are in the Fast Track community, stay tuned. I'll be jumping out here again in the next day or two just to follow up with you a little bit on what we talked about. All right, my friends, I got a jam. I got a meeting to get to. I love and appreciate you guys. Make sure you join us here each and every single Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for the Elite Marketing Pro Daily Dose of Awesome. And remember, no matter what course you fly in life, fly high, fly fast, and fly far. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Be good.